Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma is one of the most exciting games that I've been looking forward to this year. Originally, it was supposed to release toward the end of May, but was pushed back thanks to the Nintendo Switch 2 being released on June 5th. Now the game releases on the same day as the console, and I just know people have been itching to get their hands on the next gen Nintendo console. But personally, since there won't really be a game on launch that I feel all that invested in getting right away, I decided to hold off on the Switch 2 for now, especially after my failed attempts to be able to get it with the pre-orders, and instead just focus down on Guardians of Azuma with the Switch 1. But if you guys are like me and you enjoy trying out different genres of games, or maybe you already enjoy cozy games like Rune Factory, well, I'm going to hammer into you why you should give this game a try regardless. What's up guys, Tactics here with another video for you. Let's not waste any more time with this and dive right in. Now I've been keeping up with the news and updates on the game since they revealed it last year, and I've covered it quite extensively on the channel. So I'll quickly review all of the old details of the game before discussing some of the new stuff. For anyone who may not know, Rune Factory is sort of like a spin-off to the Harvest Moon games that focuses more on the fantasy life, with farming being a key element still. However, with fantasy games comes other elements such as the RPG element and the sense of adventure, giving it its own identity from the Harvest Moon series, or Story of Seasons as it's called now. What makes Rune Factory so special from other life sim games is the ability to build a life in a peaceful town with farming, fishing, which is the usual from a life sim, and interacting with the locals. The main reason that makes it special though is the gameplay loop of having plenty of activities to do in and outside of town. If you want to go out and take some time to defeat some monsters, gather materials, or explore a vast world, you can. And Guardians of Azuma expands on all of this beyond anything we've seen in the series thus far. The farming has become more streamlined thanks to the sacred treasures and having villagers to help with the farms. Fishing has returned, which is something we haven't seen until now, but we know that it is indeed in the game since there is an entire encyclopedia of all the fish that you can catch. Another great feature that has been expanded on is the relationships you can develop with 16 marriageable candidates. That's right, 16 characters for you to choose from to romance in the entire game. 2 of these characters happen to be DLC unfortunately, but regardless, still the biggest roster thus far in the series for sure. I honestly really like the design of a lot of these characters as well. In Rune Factory 5 and 4, I feel like the characters looked a little on the young side, so it was a welcome sight to see them look more mature in this game. As you develop your relationship with these characters, more options of dialogue and even cute little scenes unlock for you, such as holding hands and hugging it out, and even down to kissing. And as with every other game in the series, you can marry the person of your choice, including one of the 2 protagonists in this particular story. It seems that you will be able to have children, or at least one child as well, that will take on features of your chosen spouse, and even some personality traits. This is without a doubt one of the most diverse cast of characters I've seen yet from the series, even including a returning character from Rune Factory 5 being Hina. One thing to note about the relationships part of the game is this new parallel world feature that they're adding to it as well. This allows you to basically have these sort of what if stories if you chose a different character. This way it allows players to be able to experience what could have been had you chosen another character to marry and have kids by, which I find to be pretty interesting. Now let's move on to what is probably my favorite feature in Rune Factory, which is the combat and exploration. Obviously the combat and the exploration of Rune Factory is what basically keeps me coming back and playing more. and it's obvious that the reason why I play Rune Factory over something like Story of Seasons is because of the combat. But anyways, before I talked about being able to ride the white dragon, which is your little sidekick here, and using him as a way to fast travel between the different villages throughout the world. Well, in Guardians of Azuma, there are 4 villages, each representing one of the 4 seasons. At first, I thought Woolby would be a fast travel to these destinations, but no, you actually get to just straight up ride a dragon across the world to many floating islands. Woolby will definitely be your main way of traveling to new locations once you unlock the ability to do so. Everything seems to be turning into open world games these days, but for a game like Rune Factory, I think it fits it perfectly since you are always exploring the world looking for new materials to craft better weapons and armor. Speaking of weapons though, the weapons in this game seem to work very well. Each of the sacred treasures can be used in and outside of combat. The parasol helps you water crops faster, while the drums can help grow them faster. And then you have other treasures like the talisman that have homing attacks that can be used on enemies. Overall, I just find that the combat in the game looks and feels very fluid. The attacks look more natural compared to Rune Factory 5 and much more expansive than any other game in the series. Combat was always one of the things that I felt like Rune Factory needed to improve on more than anything after transitioning from 2D to 3D games. Rune Factory 5 kinda did this, but it felt like the developers were still getting the hang of making a 3D Rune Factory game. But it seems like they may have figured out a method for the series moving forward with future installments. There is even a skill tree to develop your character's moveset, which I find to be pretty cool. Capturing and taming monsters also make a return since you'll be able to ride horses and other monsters to get around the map faster. I can say with confidence that the combat for Guardians of Azuma will be much more engaging and fun than any other game so far. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see when the game is in our hands. Finally, let's backtrack a little and talk more about the villages that we mentioned before. There will be 4 major villages, as I stated, that will represent one of the seasons, and you get to build these villages from the ground up, however way you want. That's right, you get to build up towns and add jobs and employ people to run these shops for you. It looks like there will be many ways to customize your village alongside the villagers, which is probably the second most exciting part of the game for me. I always enjoy being able to venture out into the world with nothing but then bringing back a ton of stuff to be able to help me build up my base or town or something that I'm making from essentially nothing. I don't know, it's just something about starting with little to nothing and having to build up your own town into this grand city or some incredible structure. So it will be interesting to see how in-depth the town building features go once we experience the game for ourselves. I can't really go into too much details of how these features will impact the gameplay experience until the game releases on the 5th of June on the Nintendo Switch, the Switch 2, and PC. But you can bet that I will definitely be here covering and talking about this game a lot more in the coming days, with maybe some tips and tricks and some other features once the game releases. Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma continues to show so much promise and improvements from 5 that I just can't wait to sink hundreds of hours into this game. And just for the record, Guardians of Azuma is supposed to be like its own standalone game, so it's not exactly Rune Factory 6, so you can bet that a lot of these new features could be implemented into Rune Factory 6, especially if gamers enjoyed them. So, do you guys intend to get Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma, or did you forget this game even existed because of, well, the Nintendo Switch 2 hype? Let me know in the comments below. Alright, there you have it guys. I know this video was a bit on the shorter side from what I've been doing lately, but I figure since the Switch 2 is literally about to come out in less than 24 hours, I decided to just have a much shorter video for this week. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and if so, be sure to smash that like button for your boy and subscribe to the channel for more Rune Factory and other RPG related content like this if you haven't already. Check out this video right here if you want to see the 7 of the best cozy games on the market right now if you haven't seen it. Either way, I appreciate you guys all the same, and with that, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.